grow an existing or manage your personal finances, your search stops right here. Join Mukonki Mukonkela from Inside Partners Africa every Tuesdays at 0720 hours on the Dalama Insights Business Show, a program that gives you the best and most practical, actionable insights.
It is a good morning and welcome to the Ndalama Insights Radio Show. Today we're tackling a topic that is crucial for anyone looking to build long-term wealth, and that is how to turn your monthly salary into assets. We all work hard for our salaries, but how can we make that money work even harder for us? To help unlock the secrets of building assets from our monthly income, we're joined once again by our finance expert today from Inside Partners Africa, Ms. Mukonki Mukonkela. Good morning, Mukonki. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Leslie. How have you been?
Very well, thank you. And how are you?
Great, thanks. And good morning, listeners and viewers online.
Great. Today, very interesting topic we're looking at, and I think this is something everyone really does ask questions about. Basics. Can you explain to our listeners first of all what we mean by turning your salary into assets?
Thank you, Leslie. I'm sure we all appreciate that majority of Zambians actually work and they're earning a salary. We've got very few entrepreneurs, and how I wish we could turn this around. And I think we are doing all we can to do that. But then we find that most of us are employed and are earning a salary. But the challenge is, how do we turn that salary into assets? Because as I've explained on several occasions, you can only be financially independent or free if you start acquiring assets. And therefore, today's discussion really is about what tips can we discuss in order for us to start using the salary that we are earning. It doesn't matter what it is. We are all different. We are employed in different sectors. We earn different amounts. But using our current income through our salary, how do we turn this into long-term investments through assets? That is what we want to discuss this morning, Leslie.
Great.
Mm.
Now, looking at this strategy of using your salary to generate wealth, why is it so important for our listeners to consider?
It's really important, Leslie, if you want to build financial sustainability in your life. As you know, jobs are not secure. Anything can happen anytime to your employment. And also inflation is always increasing. Right now we're at 15.5%. As I checked, there's a drastic increase, and I'm told since 2021 we are now at the highest inflation rate. And so your salary increase is not matching the inflation increase. And so you have to be creative, Leslie, if you're going to survive these harsh economic times. And so in as much as we've got this job, it is not really secure. The purchasing power because of inflation is being eroded. And what we can do is retain our power, rather than complain and try to change forces that we can't, like inflation. There's really very little we can do about it. But how can we utilize, using our own power, how can we utilize our resources to really build a financial source that is stable, that can help us in the long run? And that is what we want to really look at, and that's what this strategy aims to achieve for you.
Mm-hmm. And just a quick one: business people actually don't, inflation works well for them, isn't? I mean, it's not really a big factor because they just increase the prices accordingly, right?
Not necessarily, Leslie. Some customers might not be able to afford the increase in the prices, and so the business might shut down because you lose clients if you are constantly increasing your prices. But also for businesses, the cost of production also goes up, and so even for them, it's a tricky balance between increasing the prices, retaining clients, and ensuring profitability and long-term sustainability as well. So it's really it requires a lot of creativity and thinking outside the box. My son says, "Throw the box away, mommy. Why do you want to think? Just forget the box." Yeah.
Interestingly, salaries will remain the same for the whole year, even as inflation is coming in. Now,
Yeah.
relying, on a salary. This is what we're talking about. But for listeners who are new to this concept of using your salary to gain assets, where should they start? Like, how can they begin turning their monthly salary into actual assets?
It's a very good question, Leslie. And as you can see, I'm speaking quite slowly today because I'm trying to be empathetic to a lot of Zambians that are facing a lot of challenges. And I can see it just by walking through communities, discussions that I'm having with people. It's really, really hard. And so, where do you start from? The basic starting point really is assessing what you currently have. So, what do you have in terms of your salary? How much are you earning? What's your salary? And then look at the expenditure. How are you spending that money? Now, yes, you can reduce on your expenditure as much as you can, but I'd like to focus on how do you increase your income. Because as we know, we already don't have enough money to spend, so our expenditure is already being spent on essential areas. But the basic starting point really is to analyze your income source, how you are spending your money. If you can reduce on unnecessary expenditure, please do reduce on those unnecessary expenditures, and try as much as possible to live within your means, or even actually below your means, not even within your means, below your means. Because if you are living below your means, Leslie, that's the only way you can now start acquiring your assets. Which brings me to the second tip. You need to start saving. Through my discussions with people, the question I get is, Mkonge, I don't even have the little money you're talking about to start saving. Where am I going to get the money from? I make 3,000 kwacha a month. Where do I get the money to save? It's discipline. Discipline yourself to save at least 10%, 20% of whatever you are earning, and live with the difference, the 80%. That is what it means to live below your means. Because we're looking at the long term. There is no way out of this. The only way is if you start saving that money as little as you can or as much as you can, so that you can start acquiring the assets that will eventually pull you out. So I understand the concern people have of saying, but I don't even have that money. What you need to do is prioritize the saving, because it's the saving that is going to pull you out of the hole that you're in. I wish you could open phone lines and actually hear from individuals that have done this, Leslie. You see, there are tremendous people out there. I had a chef that helped us once to prepare for my twin sister's wedding, and when we were going to pick him up, Leslie, he asked me to pick him up from his house. And when I went to his house, it was in Chalala. So I asked him, but how does a chef working at Pamosi build a house? I was puzzled. So then I realized it's really about our priorities. How much is a chef at Pamosi earning? And why can't we all do what that man has done? He's built a big house in Chalala. So this excuse, I'll call it an excuse of trying to say, but I only earn 1,000 kwacha, I only earn 2,000 kwacha, shouldn't stand if you're really looking at the long term. Yeah. Yes.
That's very interesting. Now, can you give us some examples, of assets that our listeners should consider?
So this is the exciting part, Leslie. We've already spoken about bonds and stocks and real estate. And in fact, I think a few months ago, the Luce was launching a real estate investment trust, which is I want to talk about real estate a bit. So the real estate investment trust is you don't need to buy property yourself, but you can buy more like shares into this trust, and you don't even need to manage the property, and you'll be getting a share of the profits. So I think there was a launch in Zambia of the first real estate investment trust. So for those of us that are interested in property, we don't have enough money to build flats, office, commercial property, or household property. How can we contact this company? I'm not sure what it is, but if they are listening, they can contact me. Perhaps they can sponsor the Ndalama Insights radio show. So you contact that company, and you invest, you buy like units, and then they'll give you a share of the profit. So in property investments, this is really exciting. It's the first in Zambia, but I hope we can see much more of such investments, because if you look at our dynamics in Zambia, really it is property that gives us the biggest return. But then for those that don't have money, that we're talking about a salary, how can you spend 1,000 kwacha every month to buy government bonds, 2-year government bonds? Because for bonds we start with 2 years. How can you buy government bonds with 1,000 kwacha every month, okay, and that can earn you a return. Or even a 15-year government bond, because it gives you the highest coupon income. How can you spend 1,000 kwacha every month, and so that you can start earning your coupon income, which you can then later on start reinvesting and growing and building your money. And through compounding, eventually your money is going to start building up and growing. Leslie, have you seen these ants? I don't know what they are called. They're ants. I found them in my house, at my house outside. They build this ant hill. They get soil and then they build like a small mountain. What are they called? Termites. So those, have you seen how fast they build that thing? Look, it's the first time I was seeing it. So one morning I woke up and looked outside my door and I found like a small hill. Where did this come from? So I dismantled it, went inside. A few hours later, I went out. I found it was already built again. I was shocked. So if ants can do that, termites can do that. From a small, these are small things, but they're building from small soils and they're able to build something big like that. Why can't we do that with our income as well?
That's the key, really. Yeah, but the list we've looked at is quite diverse. But how should our listeners then decide which assets are right for them?
Nice question, Leslie. So it's all up to you. As I said, we are all starting from a very different base. Some of us are earning pretty good incomes. Some of us not so much. Others have got financial responsibilities like childcare, parents, old parents that they're taking care of. So I can't really give a general, response to this question. But what I would say is that is why you need to sit down and reflect on your current situation, your incomes, your expenses, and then see how much the leeway you have so that you can start acquiring assets. It's personal really, and carry out that assessment. But you really just have to do this assessment, reflect on it, and I would love to hear from you. You can give me feedback online on YouTube, those of us that have gone through this process, and see how it's working for us.
Okay.
Yes.
Now we get practical. How can someone start turning their salary into assets on a month-to-month basis? There's always the idea of saying, no, save, use it, but now practically, how do you do it?
It's pretty simple. And I think it just requires discipline, Leslie. After assessing your income, your salary, your expenses, you're able to know how much you can contribute towards your savings bucket. Let me call it a bucket. So let's say you are able to afford 20% of your salary every month to keep in this savings bucket. So what you need to do now is to automate those savings. So you need to tell your bank. Remember, a few weeks ago we spoke about deduct. So create a direct debit from your salary account straight to your savings bucket account so that you don't touch this money. And that actually will help you to create the discipline that we're talking about, to live within the balance, the 80% of whatever you earn. And that's the basic starting point. And then start researching what investments you can start acquiring from the investment buckets that you have built up. So you could say, from this bucket, I've built up maybe a 10,000 kwacha. I could buy stocks, I could buy bonds, I can maybe even buy a property wherever you live. I mean, some communities, property, maybe you can buy something for 10,000 kwacha, you never know. So it is all up to you. So research what kind of investments you can acquire from the bucket of savings that you've built up. And that is how you get started. Remember, from one, you can triple. You've played Monopoly before, Leslie, right? So all you need to do is buy one green hotel is or one greenhouse in whatever road. Let's say what road in the community, I don't know, maybe in Garden. And that is going to triple. You never know. So that's the principle. I think maybe to summarize, after you've done your assessment of your income, create a savings account, automate your savings through deduct, and then start researching what kind of assets you need to start acquiring and start buying them. And when you're buying assets and investment, don't feel don't feel like you're wasting money, because eventually that's the money that you're going to realize is going to help you through. Yeah.
Okay. Now let's address a common concern. How
Mm.
can our listeners balance, building assets with their day-to-day financial needs? That's always the question.
It is always the question, Leslie. As I've said, it's really a challenge, very little income, and we are trying to build assets. But I think the principle is prioritize the building of assets first. So I earn a 3,000 kwacha. It's very tight. Regardless of that, ensure that you're saving at least 10 to 20%. You can make the decision on your own. Ensure that you stick to that strictly. That is what we call pay yourself first. And I'm telling you, it works, Leslie. Yeah, I'm talking from personal experience. So it works. Discipline yourself and then start small. Start making small investments. Even a small bit really makes a difference. I've already given that example of the termites. Even a small investment makes a difference. And when you get things like the 13th check, so those of us that are privileged every year to get the 13th check, or any other income that was not planned, direct it towards investments. Don't go and have a shopping spree with your spouse and your children. Direct that to your savings bucket and to your investments. And yeah, and most importantly, look for extra ways to earn income. Maybe a side gig. If you are talented in an area, utilize your talent to earn extra income. Yeah,
very important indeed.
yeah.
Now, as we near towards the end of our program, though, what final advice do you have for our listeners who want to start turning their monthly salary into assets?
I would like to say, don't despair. We are all going through the same challenges, and it doesn't matter who you think is doing better than you. We are all going through the same challenges, and so embrace this and take the necessary action. I think what's important really is to act, start taking these steps, and very soon you're going to start seeing the light at the end of the day.
Definitely. And just a quick one: when you look at property, there is what they call customary land.
Mm.
Which goes for weird prices, 2,000, 5,000, 10,000,
Uh-huh.
15,000, 20,000 kwacha.
Yes.
Don't shy away from customary land. There's nothing wrong with customary land. Just by the way, do
Mm.
buy that customary land and then go through the whole process of turning it into titled land, however long it takes,
Mm-hmm.
for as long as it is yours.
You see?
Once you've bought it, it is yours. The fact that it's not on title does not, mean that you don't have the land.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people I know, they will say, no, but I'm looking to buy land, but it's
Mm-hmm.
expensive. Customary land has been made very, very affordable, but it will
Mm-hmm.
become expensive soon.
That's really, really nice. You see?
Yeah.
That's so nice. Thank you so much for that.
All right, this has been the Dalama Insights Radio Show. Until next week.
You have been listening to Dalama Insights Business Show, brought to you by